Hi guys. Welcome to my first actual long form speaking video. I don't think I've actually ever come on here and done a full sit down video where I'm talking, so this is going to be interesting. Bear with me. I don't have a script. I'm completely improvising this, so please be patient with me. So first and foremost, happy release day to this beautiful book right here, The Blood That Divides Us. In case you guys are new or just weren't aware, this is my newest release. It is a YA murder mystery romance kind of thing, inspired by Good Girls Guide to Murder and One of Us is Lying. Basically about a high school girl who has a best friend. She runs a true crime podcast, reports on all the crimes in their city, and one day when a fellow student gets stabbed to death in the school bathroom and no one knows who it is, our main character is forced to work with her academic rival, Mateo, and her best friend who hosts the true crime podcast to try to solve the mystery before the killer catches them. There is a lot of twisted turns, a lot of betrayals, and it's just overall a wild ride. So today's release day. It is officially out today, which is insane. Have so many emotions right now. I can't even begin to tell you guys how excited I am, how surreal this whole experience has been, and just how unbelievably excited I am for you guys to finally read this. I know so many of you have been commenting for months now saying how you cannot wait, and the wait is over. It is out now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble as a paperback and an ebook, as well as on Kindle Unlimited. So if you're a Kindle Unlimited reader, it should be on there. So please go check it out, support me, and if you do, I sincerely hope you love Alyssa's story. I think you can tell from the title of this video that this is a Q&A. A while ago, a couple weeks ago, I posted something on my community tab as well as on other social media platforms asking for some questions for the Q&A, and I did get quite a few responses. I have my list here, as well as a few additional questions that weren't asked specifically for the Q&A, but they're just kind of frequently asked questions that countless people have asked me throughout the last few months that I've answered all of them individually, but I feel like it's best to address them in a video so that you all can get the information too. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I'm waving this book around because it's just surreal to me to actually have a physical book to hold. So if you see me constantly holding this and pointing to it, I'm just really proud of my little baby and so excited for this to go out into the world. So this is my little prop for the day. And I will be flashing the questions on the screen as well as any pictures I have, because there is a question for that which we'll get to later. So let's just jump right into this. Okay, so question number 1 is, what writing platform do you use? So I've actually gotten a few people asking this, and I know a lot of authors, especially in the community, use Microsoft Word. That is very common, kind of very standard. I feel especially with TradPub, everyone just assumes you use Word, but I actually don't. I use Google Docs, and I don't really know why. I think that just stems because all when I was younger in elementary school and middle school, all of our assignments were on Google Docs. So from a young age, I got really comfortable with the platform and all of the tips and tricks. I think we even had a whole segment in 5th grade where my teacher walked us through all of the cool features that no one knows about in Google Docs, and I just got really comfortable with it. And then when I started getting into writing in 5th grade, it was during COVID, Google Docs was just kind of my automatic go-to. I didn't even think twice. It was just oh yeah, open up a Google Doc, start typing my story. It was just kind of what I automatically resorted to. And then I got really used to all the features, and it's just now kind of my security blanket. I've heard that Word is a lot easier, and there's features that are more tailored for editing especially. So I may be interested in trying that out in the future, but at the moment I use Google Docs. So that's that. And then similarly, and this was also a question by the same person, but other people have asked me it as well. How do you outline and what are your tips? So I also use Google Docs for outlining, and I typically work in 3 stages. So first we have the brain dump stage, then we have the character outline, and then we have the chapter by chapter outline. So let me dive deeper into each of those. So the brain dump stage is the very, very first part of my outlining process. It's usually like right after I come up with the initial concept. I immediately open a Google Doc, I title it brain dump, maybe with like a smiley face or something, and then I start. And that is just to get all of my ideas out. It's self-explanatory, like it's literally a brain dump. I think I showed my brain dump, my actual brain dump outline for the book that divides us in one of my earlier videos. But basically, I just start writing paragraphs and I'm just like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Okay, I want to include this, this, and this. I want to include these tropes. Okay, this character, he's going to be very like Chase Atlantic coded. Okay, he's going to be like really like morally gray. Like, and that is so vague because obviously when you're, you know, trying to write a book and like write characters, you want them to be more fleshed out than that. But that's not our main concern right now. Our main concern right now is just really feeling out your story idea and if it's something you want to pursue or not. Because I feel like as writers, and for me especially, not trying to go on a tangent, but I'm a huge overthinker. Like I have so many ideas constantly compiling and stacking up in my brain that it becomes too much. And I just have so many ideas and concepts and scenarios. My imagined scenarios go crazy, guys. But just so much in my head all the time, 24/7, that when I'm trying to just stick to one book and one project, all my ideas get jumbled. And so that's what the brain dump is supposed to help with, is uncluttering those ideas and making them so you're not as overwhelmed, or there's not as many thoughts kind of perpetrating in your mind. You're just supposed to get all of them out. So that's usually my first step. Like for The Blood That Divides Us, it was like, I want this to be a high school mystery. I know I want it to be inspired by A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I know I want there to be a true crime podcast with, spoiler, you know, bunch of stuff that ties back into things. I know I want this character who acts this way to be the killer, and I know I want this character to be the suspect. I want this character to be like a cinnamon roll character. Like I kind of throw everything out on the page. And then my next step is the character outlining process, and that just kind of expands on it because I am the type of person and the type of writer, I think that character-driven stories are way more important and way better than plot-driven stories. And we could agree to disagree on that, but that's just my personal opinion. I think that you could have an amazing book with a bad plot, but as long as the characters are good and as long as they're characters that you could root for and you're in love with, the writing can be cringy, the dialogue can be cringy, the plot could be boring, but people are in it for the characters. However, if you flip the roles and you have a book with an amazing plot, super original, super creative, there's so many like twists and turns, and like, you know, the writing, the prose is gorgeous, but like your characters are really flat and one-dimensional and boring, I'm sorry, but like no one's gonna want to read that, no one's gonna be invested, no one's gonna be interested. Because yes, the plot helps, and yes, they're engaged in the storyline, but your characters are what they're invested in. That's why they're there, for the most part. And so having good characters is key. So I take my character outlining process very seriously. I make like several documents. I have like several, I don't have the notebook with me, but I have like a notebook, and I like dedicate a page to each character, and I decorate it and make it all aesthetic, and I color code it based on the character. I kind of assign each character a color, like yes, I'm that detail oriented. And then I just go through and for my character outline, I think I got a template from Abby Emmons. She has a whole playlist on character outlining that I would highly recommend checking out. She is amazing. She gives the most helpful advice and tips, so I would go check that out because I actually got a template from her. But it's basically like, you start off with like basic stuff about them, basic info about them, you know, their name, their age, their appearance, their personality, their likes, their dislikes. And then you go to like deeper stuff, like internal conflict, external conflict, what is their biggest fear, how do they change from the beginning of the story to the end, like all of that technical stuff. And so that's what I did for each of my characters, even the supporting, like, side characters that you don't see very much of, because they're still important and they still have a role in the story. Even if it's not significant, it's still something. And it's still something that, like, all characters have an arc. Even if it's not an arc where there's not a lot of noticeable change or growth, it's still an arc nonetheless. And so you have to treat it as such, and that's why I really go in depth on outlining each character. And then finally, the chapter by chapter outline, which is basically just like a chapter by chapter outline. I go through and I just write chapter 1, and then next to it I write a sentence or two, basically just a short sentence or two summary of what happens in each chapter. So I'll be like, finds the body, freaks out. Like, I will literally just like keep it short. You don't need to go into detail, like, just keep it short. Just describe in a few words as possible, what happens in that chapter. So that's kind of like your roadmap, so that you can refer back to it and be like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to happen in this chapter. Okay, got it. And then which that person also asked, what are my tips for outlining? And I would honestly just say that, like, you do not need to know everything before you begin writing. I feel like that's kind of a common misconception of like, oh my gosh, I have to know every little detail before I start writing. But you really don't. Like, as long as you have a roadmap, as long as you have a basic understanding of your characters, their arcs, their growths, like their motivations, like why are they in the story, what do they want, you know the plot, you know kind of just your climax of events of what's going to happen, you can go into it otherwise blind. Because regardless of how much you outline, you could outline for 6 months, but you're always going to find new things when you're writing. It doesn't matter how much you sit there and you plot, when you actually sit down to type, you're always going to come across new things and new details that you're like, I never thought about that, or I never planned this out. And so you just gotta go with the flow. Writing, you gotta be flexible. That's part of what writing is. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to just kind of be like a wild adventure. So just go with it. Don't feel like you have to outline every detail. Just have a basic understanding and see where that gets you. And trust me, it'll be fine. That's what editing's for. Okay, I feel like I spent enough time on that question. So let's move on to the next question. By lovely Emily. By the way, please check her out. She's an amazing, amazing person. She was actually one of my ARC readers and helped with my cover reveal. She's literally so sweet. I will link her channel down below. She is amazing. You're amazing, Emily. So she gave me a few questions. So first off, what character do you see yourself in the most? So, this is such a basic author answer, but we're gonna say all of them, because I truly do put myself and like pieces of myself in all of my characters. Certain, like habits and flaws and quirks of mine, I sprinkle in each character because they're all a part of me. Obviously, I created all of them, so little things are in each character. But if I had to give an answer, I would say I'm a mix of Alyssa and Gracie. Alyssa, because of her hobbies and like what she enjoys to do, some of her tendencies, that is so me. But also not Alyssa because of her trauma, which, if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's not me. So no to that. I promise I'm okay. But then also Gracie, because her personality. Like, I feel like I am so, like, Gracie is me. I am Gracie. Like, I have such Gracie's, like, girls, super, like, sweet and supportive personality. Always bubbly, always trying to make a tense situation funny, always laughing. Like, Gracie is literally me, okay? So, personality-wise, I'm Gracie. 1000%. Okay, next question. How did you think of names for your characters? So, there's actually 2 answers for this. So, first one, and for me, it kind of depends. So the first way I think of character names is actually by like ethnicity. So like, I'm gonna use an example from The Blood That Divides Us. So like, if you read it, or if you've been following on my channel and I've been posting edits about all the characters for the past few months, you know that there's actually an Asian / Chinese side character. He's kind of like the comedic relief, like sarcastic, kind of Kenji coded character in this. His name is Zhao. Don't know if I've ever talked about how to pronounce it, but it's Zhao. And so I always knew diversity is really important to me, but there were a couple different reasons I wanted to make him Chinese, for like personal reasons, and then reasons that just fit into the story. And you know, I'm all about just trying to keep things diverse and just get a new perspective onto things. And so that was a very conscious decision I made. It wasn't something that I decided and then threw in there last minute. Like I always knew from day one that Zhao was going to be Chinese. And so knowing that, like from the moment I started outlining, I was like, okay, I know he's gonna be Chinese. Now I just gotta have a Chinese boy name. And that was a bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, I'm like part Asian, but like I'm not Chinese, and so I'm not really in that culture. And so thinking of names for him was very difficult, because I was like going on Google and I was like there sitting on my couch like traditional, because I wanted something like traditional Chinese, so I was like traditional Chinese boy names. And it was like, I didn't want something that was like too common and like stereotypical, but like I also didn't want something that was like symbols or like something hard to pronounce, or like, you know, I just wanted something kind of in the middle. Like I knew if it was right, I would know it. And so it took me forever, but eventually, because there's different variations of like XI and like XIA and XIO, and there's like different variations, but eventually I found Zhao, which is spelled XIAO, and I was like, that's him, that's the one. I saw it and I was like, he is such a Zhao, like, period. There's no question. So he was easy for the most part. Well, I mean, he wasn't, but once I saw it, I knew. But then for the most part, for the other characters, I actually do kind of a Google search method. So for example, I pick one adjective that describes them, or it doesn't even have to be an adjective, it could be a noun that describes them. And then I try to find names that mean that. So for example, I don't know if I can give examples necessarily with this book, but like with, typically, if there's like a super like cinnamon roll, like super bubbly, happy, sunshine character, I would look up girl names that mean sunshine. Because actually, there are so many names that like, you think they're just names, but there's deep hidden meanings behind that you don't even realize. So if they're like a sunshine character, I'll look up girl names or boy names that mean sunshine. And then I'll scroll through a bunch of baby name websites until I find one that just kind of fits. And like, I know as an author and as a writer, I can just see a name and it immediately clicks, and I'm like, that's it, that's the one, this is what I've been envisioning, this is perfect. Like it's a very bonding moment. It just kind of bonds, it just kind of clicks, and I'm like, that's it. And I rarely ever change it. I rarely ever do. I think Gracie was once a Grace, but then I went back and forth. I was like, Grace, Gracie, Grace, Gracie, but Gracie just fits more for her. Just kind of like innocent, playful, carefree, bubbly, like it just fits. I think Alyssa was always Alyssa. Brooklyn was always Brooklyn. Mateo was always Mateo, I think. I went back and forth between spelling it with one T and two T, just like minor differences. But it's just kind of whatever I feel like fits from like when I'm outlining, and then I just stick with that. I don't change it. Okay, so on a similar note, the last question from Emily is, who would you cast if it turned into a movie? When I tell you, I had the best time looking up these people and figuring this out, because like I always knew it, but it wasn't really until I got this question, I was planning for this Q&A, that I really sat down and I like made an effort to like pinpoint which actors or actresses or people that I wanted to, that I just felt like really embodied these characters. You'll see like with my edits, I sometimes post the same face claims for the characters. a lot of the times I just get them off Pinterest. And just like, I just find them and whatever like fits. And so sometimes I have the same people for characters, and then sometimes I don't. So trying to figure out exactly one person for each character was so fun. So I'm just gonna like do a speed run through my list. I'm not gonna really go into it, but I'll just flash a picture of the person I'm talking about on the screen. So if you don't know them, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So first up, we have Alyssa. And I would love if she could be played by Olivia Christie. This beautiful lady right here. I don't think she's technically an actress. I think she's more like a Pinterest TikTok girly. But her account is great. She's beautiful. And like, come on. She is so Alyssa coded. Like, I just look at her and I'm like, this is exactly who I pictured. And then for Mateo, we have, I cannot pronounce this, Jackson Pasaglia. Probably messing that up, sorry. Enough said. I think I can just put a picture here and you guys get the point, right? I don't have to elaborate, right? Right, okay. Moving on. Then we have Brooklyn. I'm also gonna butcher this. Sorry. Kieran Shipka? Not entirely sure. Beautiful actress. And I just think, like, I looked up a recent picture of her. I think she is brunette now. So if you look up recent pictures of her, I don't think she looks like this. But if you like scroll through when she was blonde, like blonde her is so Brooklyn and you cannot change my mind. Then we have Gracie. Sadie Sink. Like, I'm sorry, y'all redheads, please don't come for me. Like, I know Sadie Sink is not the only redheaded actress out there. Like, I know that. But also, like, she is just so Gracie. Like, I'm sorry, she's just so undeniably Gracie. And then finally, for Zhao, we have Alex Shalab. Not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but he is just giving such Zhao energy. Like, I look at him, I'm like, this is the comedic relief character. This is Zhao. So, anyway, that was super fun to come up with the list. And yeah, so if you're any of these people, please reach out to me because I'd love to cast you in a movie. Like, y'all are my dream fan cast. Okay, coming up on the next set of questions. First off, we have, what was the easiest / hardest chapter to write? So, this is gonna be hard because some of it's kind of spoilery, so I'm gonna try to like not, this is, by the way, I don't know if I said this is a spoiler-free video because it's release day. I know there are some people who are watching this who watch my channel who either were a beta reader or were ARC readers, which means they got an early copy of the book in exchange for a review or in exchange for feedback, whatever. So those people already read it, so they already know, but I feel like most of you, since it's release day, it literally, like, this is coming out, like, it just came out today, so a lot of you have not read it, so I'm not going to spoil anything. But with that being said, in vague, ominous terms, the easiest chapter for me to write was chapter 28, because all I'll say is that's when there's a who did this to you scene. I've marketed this as a who did this to you, and it is a who did this to you. Like, it's not like false marketing. Like, I promise there is a who did this to you scene, and ask any of the early readers. It's good. It's good. And so that was the easiest to write because, like, in the brain dump document that I mentioned earlier in the video, that was one of the things that I knew. I didn't know much about this story. I didn't know much about what I wanted in this book. I didn't know much about that. I did know there had to be a who did this to you. There had to. I was not gonna write this book if I could not find somewhere to fit who did this to you. Especially because I tend to gravitate to writing more like trauma books. I'm fine, I promise. But I don't know why. I just like writing like angst and trauma and like just like mental health rep in my stories. And so a lot of that, especially because I'll talk more about this later, but there is some physical abuse. And so that leads to a bunch of both physical and emotional trauma. So they're warned for it to be a who did this to you scene, but I knew right off the bat there had to be. And so coming up with that, it's like a whole kind of trauma dumping scene, but then also a who did this to you scene, and then like it's kind of the pivoting moment in the enemies to lovers where like he stops being a jerk and he just like comforts her, and it's like it was so easy. It was so easy because it just flowed naturally. It was amazing. And then the hardest chapter to write was chapter 21. If you know, you know. Again, not gonna spoil anything, but there is a rape scene. And writing this rape scene was hard. It's not too graphic, but I did go into some detail. So writing that was really hard for me. I actually cried. It was really hard. So, no context, I can't even speak. No context there. But that was really difficult. Okay, and then the final question from this person: if you could have just one song to describe the whole book, what would it be? This one, easy answer. There's two, but like, it's hard to pick just one. Okay, am I cheating? I'm picking two. And that would either be Nobody No Crime by Taylor Swift, which, come on, I don't think I even need to say anything about that because I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, come on. That is literally like Nobody No Crime is just like the murder mystery anthem. Like, it fits a lot of the earlier themes so well. And then the other song I would say is Mind Games by Psychic. Such a good song, so freaking underrated in my opinion. I actually put this on the playlist. Oh yeah, in case you didn't know, I posted a playlist for this book, a short version, because I wanted the video to be like under 30 minutes. So a short version of the playlist here on my channel a few days ago, and I did include that song. But then also if you want an extended, like the full playlist, because the playlist is over like 50 songs. I only crammed I put like less than 10 songs in that playlist. But if you want to see the full playlist, it's in the book. It's in the front of the book. It's in the front of the book, in both the paperback and the ebook. And then it's also on Spotify. My account is at author Marcelina Little. Or if you just type in The Book That Divides Us, it should come up. So if you want to actually go on Spotify and give it a listen, you can do that. But yeah, Mind Games by Psychic, super underrated in my opinion. And it's a very like ominous, mysterious The Book That Divides Us coded, like for sure. Because the main chorus is like, there's another side that you don't know, hinting at the betrayal. I can't wait to get you all alone. Mind games until you lose control. So basically it's all about mind games and manipulation and like kind of a hunter-prey relationship dynamic. Like you think I'm one way, there's actually a whole other like obsession side of me that you don't know, and I'm just kind of playing mind games with you right now, but I'm not letting you go, like you're mine, which is very it can be easily translated to what happens in this book. So and that's not spoilers, that's low-key like foreshadowing, okay? Like if you listen to that song or if you've heard that song before, it's foreshadowing. But yeah, definitely that would describe this book perfectly. And then, okay, so that's the end of like the questions that were submitted for the Q&A. However, I did compile a list of just 3 other questions. They weren't asked specifically for the Q&A, but they're just kind of like frequently asked questions that I've gotten multiple comments of over a stretch of my videos or over the few months that I've been talking about and promoting this book. And so I feel like they're worth mentioning in the Q&A because I get them a lot, and so why not just clear the air here? So literally probably the most, well, the first 2 are like tied for the most asked question. I get on like every single one of my videos. I don't mind them, but I get them like every single one of my videos. Where can I buy this? Where can I purchase this? And that is a good question. This is where we're gonna use my lovely book as a prop again, because I'm proud of my work. I made this. So where can you buy this? It is available, I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but it is available as this paperback you see here, not with this ugly like strip on the cover. This is just because it's a proof copy, which is like a specific test copy that authors can get so that they could like proofread their books before they're out. So I promise yours will not have this strip. But if you want a physical copy, you can get it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. If you would like an ebook, that is also available on Amazon, like for your Kindle. And then if you are a Kindle Unlimited KU user, the book is also in Kindle Unlimited. So, because I know a lot of you guys are there too, so it is available there. And then the next most frequently asked question that I get, again, on like every single one of my videos, is what is the age range for this? Like, what age would you recommend it? Is there any spice? I'm kind of lumping them together because I feel like people ask that and then they ask like, is there spice? Is there smut? So let me just clear the air. This is a YA. That's what I've been marketing it as the entire time. It is YA. It is young adult. Meaning, I mean, YA is typically like 13, 14 plus. I don't want to say to like 18 because I do know a lot of adults read YA and love it. So there's no like maximum cap, but YA usually starts around 13, 14, maybe 15. For this specifically, it's hard because I'm 15 now, but the majority of when I wrote and edited this, I was 14. And so like, I've had some friends who are around my age or even like slightly younger who have read this and ate it up. They've loved it, like there's been not a problem. It's fine. But then I've had some people that are like, not calling anyone out here, it's fine, everyone has their own taste, but I've had some people that are like 16, 17, being like, this is so mature. Like, take everyone's opinion with a grain of salt. It depends on how mature you are. I'm not trying to expose myself here, but I started reading spice when I was like young, and like I started reading like these types of books when I was like in middle school. So like for me, my perception of this is different because that's what I'm used to. Whereas if you are 15 or 16 and you don't like, you like very clean, very like innocent books, I would just be careful. There is some like dirty jokes and like sexual innuendos in here, and then there is like, you know, a little like something in the epilogue, like a mildly spicy thing in the epilogue, but that could be easily skipped. And then there are trigger warnings of suicidal thoughts from our main character. No one actually does anything, no one self-harms, no one, you know, there's none of that, but she just has a lot of thoughts of wishing to die. So please be mindful of that. There's also descriptions of blood and gore, which is to be expected. It's a murder mystery. Please do not come at me that it's gory. Like, again, not to call anyone out, those are some comments I've gotten, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, but like, this is a murder mystery. Like, think very like a Good Girl's Guide to Murder, one of us is lying. Like, there's descriptions of crime, of a stabbing. Like I said, that's what sets off this whole mystery, is a student gets stabbed. And there's like a brief paragraph or two description of that. Like, there is some descriptions of some gory stuff. And then on a deeper level, there are some flashbacks of physical abuse. Without spoiling anything, it's apparent to a child, that child being Alyssa, our main character. So she has a lot of like flashbacks and inner thoughts, and he's just an alcoholic, abusive jerk. So there is some descriptions of that, so please tread carefully. And then there's also rape scenes. So please just be mindful of that. With all that said though, if you're comfortable with that, I would say 14 to 15 plus. I feel like that's the general reaction I've gotten. So just, you know, I feel like it's less about something I give out. Like, it's not necessarily just a number that I throw out. If you're like 13, but you read these kinds of books, you're perfectly fine with the trigger warnings that I listed, then I'm not gonna stop you. Like, go for it, and I really hope you enjoy. But also, if you're like 16 and this sounds a little too intense for you, but you're like, well, she said 14 to 15 plus, like, it's all about you personally. So just keep what I said in mind, but also don't weigh too heavily on it, if that makes sense. But generally, I'd say 14, 15 plus, it's young adult. That was a really long answer, I'm sorry. And then finally, the final, most commonly asked question I get is, how do I format / publish? So this is already like a 37 minute long video. So I could spend an entire hour sitting here and talking about this. So we're gonna try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. And so the basic answer, formatting, let's start with that because that comes first generally before publishing. Formatting, I also use Google Docs. I do everything in Google Docs. I know some people have asked me, because there's like platforms that you like upload it to, or like apps, websites, whatever you want to call them. You upload your manuscript to them and then it like formats it for you. I don't use any of that. I use it in Google Docs because I write and edit all in Google Docs. And so I just go onto my document. I make a separate document for everything, for like all my drafts, so I can keep them separate, keep myself organized. And then I have been watching like a bunch of videos. So the most helpful video for me was Bethany Atazada's outlining playlist. Again, highly recommend you check that out, especially if you have more questions, because she explains it like way more in depth and actually gives examples. She explains it more, like, way better than I could, so I'm not even gonna go there. But check that out if you want more on like the technical side. She actually shows you examples. She uses Word, but it's pretty much the same thing, like the basic rules and what you can and can't do, like it's all the same ultimately. But I took a bunch of notes off that video and I just kind of applied it to my own. Generally though, like if you've noticed, chapters are supposed to start halfway down the page. So like I'm trying to find a chapter that's not spoilery. Hold on. Okay, so like this is chapter 4. So like most chapters, like they're supposed to start halfway, or like not, this isn't quite halfway, but like just somewhat down the page. And so to do that, literally all you do, you just like press the space bar or like the enter bar. So you could, until you go down. I went until I had like the margins on the side, and then I went about until, I would say this is what, like a third of the page. Not really good at math, but something like that. So just whatever looks right to you. Well, I mean, first, okay, I'm messing myself up here. First, you want to actually go to Google Docs. Like I'm on Google Docs right now. So go to Google Docs, go to the upper left-hand corner, hit File, and then there's should be something down at the very bottom, up above Print, that says Page Setup. And if you click on that, you can actually change the size. Now, Google Docs is defaulted to 8.5 by 11, but if you change that, standard book size is between 5 by 8 to 5.5 by 8.5. There's a variation. That's why if you notice like books on your bookshelf, they're all like slightly different sizes. That's why, because it's kind of, both of them are the standard, so it gets confusing. For this one, I ended up going with 5.5 by 8.5 because for me, I really like the size. I feel like it's perfect. And plus, this book is thick. It's like over 400 pages. It's almost 100,000 words. It's 96,000 words. And so, you know, when you have slightly shorter books, they get chunkier, and I didn't really want that. So anyway, I went by 5.5 by 8.5, which I found is perfect. So that's the first thing you want to do. Like before you like mess with anything in the document, you always want to resize it first. That will resize it where it's like paperback size, where it looks like this. And then you could do all the formatting stuff. Then you could like work on chapter headers. I make the chapter headers a different font. You could do like little dividers that you can make in Canva and then import them into the document. I didn't do it with this book, but I've seen it, you know, like right in between like the chapter and the text there'll be like a little symbol or something. You can make that in Canva. I tested it out. It works, and it works well with print as long as you do it in black and white, but it's up to you. And then just play around with it, like experiment. There are some basic rules though, like it should all be Times New Roman, typically 12-point font. I think I did 11-point font with this actually, because I don't know why, but like I did 12-point, and then I ordered a proof copy and it was like really wonky, like it was so big. And I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I don't like big font books. Like it just annoys me so much. And so I'm pretty sure I ended up going with 11-point font, and it's still like it's a really good size. So just play around with it. That's what you order a proof copy, which by the way you could do via Amazon KDP, which I'll talk about in just a second. But just play around with it. But the font is usually always standard. The size is around there, 11 to 12. And there are some like basic other rules that, again, Bethany goes way more into depth on, so if you're curious, check out her videos. But basically, like, if you notice, again, trying to flip to a spoiler-free chapter, the beginning, I don't know how well you can see that, the beginning of each chapter is not indented. So like the first line of every chapter and after every like time skip scene break should not be indented. I don't know why, that's just kind of a rule in the writing book community. So there are just certain rules like that. Just certain like formatting guidelines you should look up and just be aware of. But those are all pretty easy. I mean, some of them are like more time consuming and tedious, but it's nothing difficult. Okay guys, so apologies in advance. It may have looked like I moved or I shifted. My phone actually died. That's what I'm recording this on. So I had to go charge it, and yeah, so if I'm in a different position slightly, that's why. But I actually just have one question left, so we're gonna answer that, and then I will close out this Q&A, because it's already getting pretty long. So, and the final question is, well, the latter part of that question is, how do I publish? And so I might have mentioned this before, but I use KDP and B&N Press. So to elaborate on what exactly that means, I already told you that this book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And so in order to get it in those places, I had to use both Amazon and Barnes & Noble's like publishing platform, company, whatever you'd like to call it. So for Amazon, that is Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. If you just look up Amazon KDP, a million results come up. You can get more info there. And then Barnes & Noble's company is Barnes & Noble Press, or B&N Press. And so basically, both of them are, I mean, they're obviously different. The layout is different. The requirements are slightly different. But for the most part, it's all the same thing. Basically, you just have to create an account for both of them. It's completely free to create an account. You just have to have a valid email address. I think, I'm trying to remember, I honestly don't remember if one of them requires a phone number or not. I don't know. But basically you just need a valid email, create an account, create a password, all of that. And then you'll be brought to your dashboard for each of them, respectively. And then you just need to create a book. There's step-by-step instructions. I will admit, Barnes & Noble is a little more confusing. Their website is like really laggy and glitchy and really outdated. Like, girl, they really need to update their website because some of it is just so confusing. But just follow their instructions. Amazon KDP is super, super easy. Just follow their instructions. They have a step-by-step guide. Like, you just input details like your title, the genre, the blurb, which is, you know, the description, what it's about. You have to pick like keywords and categories, which is basically like what are some genres and like keywords to help people search result wise find your book, and just like all that information. And then you upload your manuscript, your cover, which, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, little tangent, I actually made my cover myself. A lot of people think that to have a nice cover, you need to hire a professional, and yes, I will admit, professionally designed covers are gorgeous, stunning, breathtaking. But if you're like me, like, I'm a broke teenager, I don't have money for that because they're like hundreds of dollars. I just made mine in Canva. You guys, I have the free version of Canva, and I made this, okay? Like, if you have any questions about cover design, like, I'm really interested in that topic, so please let me know. But yeah, so then you upload your cover file, and then you set a price, do a couple other things that they ask in terms of like copyright stuff, all that boring stuff. You just click yes or no, and then you can upload it. And to get the proof copy, because a couple people asked me about that, there's literally a button. You have to upload the paperback version, because you could do a Kindle, like an ebook, a paperback, and a hardcover. So you have to do either the paperback or the hardcover. Then once you upload all your manuscript and cover files and get that information, there's an option on the last page that allows you to order a proof copy, which is what this is, so that I can have something to hold in my hands, so that I could proofread it. I found some typos, lots of typos, things. I started just line editing and changing sentences, but, and then that is just the cost of printing. That's literally, it's the cost of printing. So I think it was $6 for this, because that's how much it costs to print. But yeah, so basically, I don't know how well I explain that. It's just, it's very, it's hard to explain necessarily how to do it. Again, if you just look up Amazon KDP and or Barnes & Noble Press, they have like guides and videos of their own, so go check those out. But I will say, with self-publishing in particular, and like using KDP and Barnes & Noble Press, you do not have to pay anything. I feel like that's a common misconception, because like in the traditional publishing world, you have to pay to like get an agent. You have to like pay ahead of time, and then you make your cost back with your sales. With self-publishing or indie publishing, it's not like that. You pay absolutely nothing. It's completely free to create an account with Amazon and Barnes & Noble and upload your book, to even publish a book. It's completely free, other than whatever cost you put in to like hire an editor or a cover designer if you choose to go that route. But then they just take a royalty out of each sale. So I'm not entirely sure about Barnes & Noble, because Barnes & Noble is confusing, because they're like retails. You get like retail and distribution, which is a whole other thing. Because, you know, they have stores and like it's a thing. But like Amazon, they're simple. They just take out a 30% royalty, which sounds like a lot, but I mean, because it's completely free to publish, literally anyone could publish, you know, they have to get their cut somewhere. So if you guys are wondering why the paperbacks are $13.99, which may seem like a lot to some of you, I'm sincerely sorry. I do not mean to make it that expensive. But let me just say, I don't really want to get into numbers here, because I don't feel like that's my place. But let me just say, even though, yes, the paperbacks are $13.99, the ebooks are $4.99. Just to let you know. But the paperbacks are $13.99. And if you're like, dang, Marcelina, that's expensive. On both Barnes & Noble, okay, on Barnes & Noble, I think I make $1.50. On Amazon, I make $2.50, $2.60. I don't even make, I make less than $3. I make even less on Barnes & Noble. But like, I don't even make $3, okay? So, and if I were to do it for like, originally I was gonna do it for like $11.99, $12.99, I'll make like less than $2 per sale, which, considering how much time and energy and even money I invested myself in this, yeah. So I'm saying that from an author perspective to you readers. Please don't get mad that the paperbacks are kind of expensive. Like, author royalties are crazy nowadays, okay? Either way, I get like $2 per book, okay? But then also, like, from an author to any other fellow authors or aspiring authors out there, just keep that in mind. Please do not get into this industry to think you're gonna make a lot of money, because this just goes to show you, you could price your books for over $10, which is kind of expensive to some people, and you're not even gonna see half of that. For a $10 book, heck, you're probably not even gonna see, like, you're gonna see like $1. Like, it's very, do not get into writing and publishing just because you think, oh my gosh, authors make so much money. Like, they don't. Unless you're like a best-selling like author which I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but just a little PSA out there. Writing and publishing is not about money, because especially from the, like, unless you're planning to trad pub and like go the traditional route and like get an agent and all that, like, and a publishing company, there's a chance, because they're wide, and royalties aren't like, I mean, you do, because, you know, you have agents and companies and people you have to pay. That's a whole different story. I'm not really comfortable in that space. Like, I'm unfamiliar with that. I'm not in trad pub, so I can't really answer questions about that. But I know for indie self-publishing, yes, it's easy. It's the easiest. Yes, it's the fastest. Yes, it's the cheapest. But also, you do have to keep royalties in mind. And like, if you're in this for money, please don't be, because you're gonna be very disappointed by the outcome. Do this because you love writing, because you want to share your stories with the world, and, you know, making extra money, especially if you're a broke teenager like me, like, it's great. The extra money helps a lot. But yeah, so anyway, I kind of like went on a whole tangent and diverted from the initial question of how do you publish. I'm so sorry, like, I completely went off the rails, but I hope that answers your question for the most part. So yeah, I think that is going to wrap up today's Q&A. This is already such a long video. Oh my gosh. If you have any other questions, I feel like some of them I didn't really answer. I tend to go on tangents and like start rambling, so I did that a lot this video. So if I didn't really answer your question, or you have any other questions based on things I said, please let me know. Just leave them in the comments. I would love to answer them. I think that, you know, across, like, over the last 6-7 months that I've been working on this, that I've been posting about this, I've gotten so many different amazing and incredible people commenting on my videos. I usually have either two sides, readers or writers. So a little message to the readers. First and foremost, thank you so much. Like, I genuinely don't know if I would have published this book if it wasn't for you guys, because I've had such struggles with this book, with writing it, with with editing, with formatting, with publishing. It has been a ride. It has been a roller coaster ride. I have wanted to give up so many times. I have wanted to just shelve this project, delete it off my Google Drive, delete all my social media, and disappear from online forever. Like, I was so discouraged. There was a period of time I hated this book and I didn't even want to publish. But I would post videos and I would get dozens of you guys commenting, oh my gosh, this sounds right up my alley. Oh my gosh, I added it to my TBR. This sounds so cool. I can't wait to read. And like, you were just all so supportive, and like, those comments kept me going. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I really hope that you enjoy Alyssa's story, and just you enjoy the book that divides us as a whole and all that it entails, and you have either added it to your TBR or you already bought a copy, or, you know, today's release day, so if you're gonna buy a copy, I would really appreciate it, and I hope it's something you end up loving. I always love to hear like reactions and theories, so just feel free to like message me, email me, tag me, whatever, because I know there's some pretty major plot twists in here, so I love to hear reader reactions and thoughts, so keep me involved, please. And then a little message to the writers. I get so many writers and like aspiring authors that also comment on my videos, that ask for tips. Like, some of the questions that were like more writing, publishing focused were from other writers or aspiring authors, specifically teen writers, which is fantastic. Like, that is so heartwarming to see, especially because I feel like the teen writer community is such a minority. It's so overlooked, and there's so much like controversy and doubt, and it's so hard. It is a struggle being a teen writer and a teen author out here. So first of all, round of applause to all of you teen writers / teen authors / teen aspiring authors. All of you guys, you are amazing. You are truly special. And please don't give up. Please keep going and focus on your dreams. I dealt with a lot of things this year, moving states, starting my freshman year of high school, which was crazy, very interesting. and that just made this equally fun and the most stressful thing of my life. So you are doing exactly what you were meant to do. A lot of you guys are like, I don't know if I'm good enough to be a writer, I don't know if I'm meant to be a writer. Don't think that. You were put on this planet with a gift, and that was to write. Don't hide that gift. Share it with the world. First drafts are meant to be messy. Don't judge your writing skills on your first draft. That's why you edit and you edit and you edit until it's a product that you're proud of, because you have a gift. Don't let it go to waste. So just keep going. I'm always open. My DMs, my messages, my email is always open for any questions, or I'm always open to be like a beta or an ARC reader. So if any of you guys are looking for that or just advice, I'd be more than happy to help in any way I can. I'm all about supporting other teen writers, so that is my main objective here. So thank you guys so much for your support in myself and the world that divides us thus far. And I really wish you all the best of luck achieving your goals, whether that's just to write a book or whether you're trying to go all the way and publish it. You got this. Keep going. So yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up the Q&A. Thank you all so much. If you stayed until the end, thank you. I hope you had the best time spending with me rambling on this lovely release day, on this lovely Saturday, January 25th. It is the World that Divides Us release day once again. I hope that you all love it. It's something I've worked very hard on, and yeah, if it's your first time seeing it, you know where you can find it. Add it to your TBR on Goodreads. Consider buying a copy if you're able to and if you're interested, or if you've already read it, please leave a review. Reviews help authors so much, especially like a small indie author like me. Reviews are kind of it's like free promo, basically. Like, it really helps rankings, and it really helps just like convince other people who may be on the fence about whether or not they want to buy it. So if you have read it, and if you have a spare second to review on Goodreads or Amazon, wherever, or even just like if you read it and there's a quote you want to share, or just post about it on social media, I would really appreciate it. All the support helps, and it means the world to me. You guys all mean the world to me, and I'm just so happy to like recording this and kind of spending this release day with you guys. Thank you in advance for all your super sweet messages, and yeah. So thank you all, and happy release day.